Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. And Jeremy,
How you doing tonight?
I'm really tired. It's been a long day, long day.
I'm tired too. It's been a long day as well, and tomorrow's going to be even longer.
Yeah, I get to work in the morning, so
Yeah. I get to put in about 300 miles on the road tomorrow.
I don't know how many miles I went today. Probably, I would guess, probably 150 maybe.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here. I'm working on sharing this thing out.
So while he's doing that, today's edition of Marks on Wrestling, we're going to be, me and Jeremy had talked about doing a Hall of Fame for our network. And we compiled, of course, a few weeks or a few months back, we did Hogan as the first inductee right after he passed. And we've been discussing, I guess, a class of 2025. Hogan be the first, and we've got six more. Is that correct?
Yep.
So we kind of compiled a list of who we thought, and both of us had a lot of the same ones. So this is going to be the first six. I'm going to give out a brief description of who and on three of them, and Jeremy's going to do the other three. We're going to go back and forth. So, and I'll mute my mic and all whenever you start on yours. So,
No, I wouldn't say we need to mute mics because we're probably going to want to both
talk.
do a little
Yeah.
bit of talking of each. Uh,
Some of these guys were, wrestling before we were even born.
Definitely before I was born, that's for sure. Uh, okay. So yeah, I'm really excited about doing this class. Out of the six, only one of them is still with us, um, and of one that is past, um, I actually share a bit of a connection with him, and I'll explain that. I'll explain that in when I get to him.
That'll be
So
interesting.
I will go ahead and bring up. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? No, I'm not going to be able to do that. Uh, Hang on a second.
You can share screen.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be able to do one thing. Turns out I'm not. Okay. So okay, there we go. So our first inductee of the evening is Donald's Okay, here we go. There we go.
And that's just a small list of his accomplishments and all in his career.
Yeah. All right, take it away.
All right, so and I just looked up how to pronounce his name correctly. Aliosis Martin Thez, I probably butchered his first name. Went by Lou Thez in his professional career. He was born April 24th, 1916, passed away April 28th, 2002 at the age of 86 due to triple bypass complications. He was build height was 6'2", build weight was 225, and build from St. Louis, Missouri. He debuted at 1932, way before we were born, retired in 1990. He was also a United States Army vet from 44 to 46, and also a vet from World War II. I'll run down here right quick. Thesz is considered by many to be the greatest professional wrestler of the 20th century. Among his many accomplishments, Boyd is credited with inventing a number of professional wrestling moves and holds, such as the belly back waistlock suplex, later known as the German suplex, the Lou Thesz press, step over toe hold face lock, the STF, and the original power bomb. He was the first wrestler to ever hold the NWA International Heavyweight Champion, which is now part of the Triple Crown Heavyweight Championship. He was also first UWA World Heavyweight Champion, first ever TWWA World Heavyweight Champion, for the now defunct International Wrestling Enterprise as well. Thesz and the Outlaw Dory Funk Sr. were the first ever NWA Pacific Coast, which is in Vancouver, Tag Team Champions. He was honored by a ceremony at WrestleMania, or not WrestleMania, but World Wrestling Federation back then before it was WWE, at Bad Blood, as being both the youngest and oldest World Heavyweight Champion at ages of 21 and 50. He was 1988, when he held the AWA World Heavyweight Champion in 1980 at the age of 54, which was tied by then WWF owner Vince McMahon in 1999. Going down, he was a former NCAA champion with NWA Heavyweight Champion Jack Briscoe. We go start to get into some names that you're familiar with, if you're not familiar with most of them. He was a three-time NCAA Heavyweight Champion, NWA Heavyweight World Heavyweight Champion. Dick Hutton said that Thesz was the best man he'd ever met in the type of wrestling, both competitive and performance. Hutton later said that Thesz was the only man I ever faced in the ring, professionally or amateur, who was faster than he was. The national judo champion, grappling professional wrestling, Gene LaBelle, which I'm very familiar with, being in the martial art world. It's considered Thesz to be one of his teachers, saying Lou Thesz and Vic Christie all taught me about grappling. Thesz is an inaugural member of several Professional Wrestling Hall of Fames, including this one, Professional Hall of Fame and Museum Wrestling Observer National Wrestling Hall of Fame, NWA Hall of Fame, WCW Hall of Fame, as well as the WWE Hall of Fame, just to mention a few. Long list of accomplishments. We won't go through all of these, but we'll hit a few of them. American Wrestling Association, AWA World Heavyweight Champion one time, International Championship Wrestling, one time. TWWA World Heavyweight Champion, one time. International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, class of 2021. NWA International Heavyweight Champion, one time. Midwestern Wrestling Association, which is in Ohio. He was an NWA World Heavyweight Champion once. Also Missouri Sport Hall of Fame. Montreal Athletic Commission World Heavyweight Champion four times. National Wrestling Alliance three times. Class of 2005 Hall of Fame. National Wrestling Association NWA World Heavyweight Championship three times. He was part of the New Japan Pro Wrestling Greatest 18 Club inductee. Then you start going into Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, Texas Heavyweight Champion four times, Stampede Wrestling Hall of Fame, class of 1995, Universal Wrestling Association once, World Championship Wrestling, WCW, of course, class of 1993, Hall of Fame, World Wrestling Associations, uh, Television Tag Team Champions once with Sale Art Thomas, World Heavyweight Champion once, World Wrestling Federation, of course, now WWE. Legends Battle Royal winner in 1987. That'd be interesting to go back and look at that. Of course, he's in the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2016. Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame class of 96. Other titles, which include World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion twice, World Heavyweight Champion Los Angeles version twice, and World Heavyweight Champion Pacific Northwest version. Um, I believe he had three kids, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, three kids, three children. Um, but Lou Thesz, from other aspects, I've heard him being quoted as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time.
Hmm.
So kind of one that I guess is uh, the one wrestler that people will say like he's all around package with wrestling and all. So that is Lou Thesz, the second Hall of Fame inductee for Marks on Wrestling.
Um, I'd like to throw in. I just took a look at the battle royal that you mentioned that he won. That was his third and last match, and the other wrestlers that were in there were Nick Bockwinkel, Tony Gurria, The Crusher, Bobo Brazil, Killer Kowalski, Chief J. Strongbow, Gene Kininsky, Rene Goulet, Ray Stevens, Pedro Morales, Dominic DiNucci, Al Costello, Arnold Scollin, Art Thomas, Baron Mikhail Cicluna, and Pat O'Connor. Let's see, Gino Brito, and Edward Carpentier. I don't know if I'm pretty sure I didn't get that name right, but that was the Legends Battle Royal. So there's some huge names in there.
Does the thing you're looking at, does it have a time limit on the time uh, the match was? A
It was
countdown?
November 16th, 1987. It was just a house show.
Oh, okay, so you wouldn't really know how long they went. I
Yeah,
would, with most of those type battle royals, they don't go very long. People get thrown out pretty quick when they bring in legends. Because I know WWE has done that on a couple occasions where those older guys aren't in there very long.
yeah. It doesn't say how long the battle royal was. With this being a house show, at least on Cage Match, they don't. list how long the matches are, but it does show that this was the first of two battle royals that night. Um, Closing out the show, they did the Legends Battle Royal and then the current superstars at the time Battle Royal, and that one closed out the show.
Can you imagine being a ticket holder there at ringside and seeing all these dang old legends? You know, mainly probably a lot of people for the first time.
Probably would have been amazing.
Yes.
Um, but that is assuming that they knew some of these guys because this here is still just a couple of years after WWE went national. So I don't know. Let's see. This was in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So I would imagine in that area they should be familiar with at least half of those guys.
Yeah. It's like wrestling royalty there.
Pretty much. Pretty much. But yeah, Lou Thesz, number two entrant into the Hall of Fame. And just looking at him, you can tell that he was probably a total badass in real life.
Yeah. Well, back then it was a lot different than it is now. Not saying these guys today aren't great athletes and pretty badass themselves, but it was a totally different, um, I guess, persona being a professional wrestler back then.
Yeah, these guys
It
were
was more brutal.
probably just themselves, most likely. Um, the only one I can think of that would have had a gimmick at that time would have been Gorgeous George. He's the only one that I can think of right offhand that had an actual gimmick.
Right. And
And
that,
the
and that same type gimmick was played throughout different decades with different wrestlers.
yeah,
Um, you had George George, you got Adrian Adonis, you got Adrian Street, which is one of my favorite ones from back in the old days.
okay, shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So the next one that we have is Buddy Rogers. Um, he was born February 20, 1921, and this is where the little, I don't want to call it a fun fact, but the interesting little tidbit. He died June 26, 1992, which was my 12th birthday. So Buddy Rogers died on my birthday.
Hmm.
Um, which which I kind of find a little odd, but that's my one tie to Buddy Rogers. He was born Herman Gustav Rode Jr. in Camden, New Jersey. Died in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which was just 50 minutes from where I lived at one time. Not at the time I was in Indiana. Buddy Rogers was the first wrestler to wrestle with the nickname Nature Boy, and since then, other wrestlers have used it, like Buddy Landell and
Mm-hmm.
Flair.
God, I remember Buddy Lindell.
Yep. And Buddy Rogers' most well-known fact is that he was the very first champion in what's now the WWE. Um, at the time, it was the WWF Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and that came about because he was the NWA champion, and then he lost it, um, I believe, to Lou Thesz. Um, I did not get that far, but he lost the NWA World title Okay, yeah, here it is. Thesz defeated Buddy Rogers for the NWA title. Um, Toots Monk and Vince J. McMahon disagreed with the decision, so they withdrew their corporation, which was at the time CWC. Um, I can't even remember what it was, but Capital Wrestling Championship Corporation. They withdrew CWC from the NWA and then rebranded it to WWF. And Buddy Rogers was their first world champion. But Buddy Rogers would only hold it for about 3 weeks. And he would suffer, it was never really clear, but he would suffer an event. A lot of people think that it was a heart attack, but nobody really knows for sure. So they took the belt off of him and put it on Bruno Sammartino, and he went on to have that 7+ year run.
Right.
Um, but Buddy Rogers did wrestle again, and he wrestled several more matches afterward. But I think what it was is that they had to get the title off of him because at the time they weren't really sure what was going to happen. And,
Right.
that's something they still do today. Um, then it shows here that he is a member of 6 Halls of Fame, which include the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, the NWA Hall of Fame, obviously the WWE Hall of Fame. Um, no, hold on. Yeah, okay, yeah, he was in the WWE Hall of Fame. It was in a different place here. Um, he's also a part of Victory Championship Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame, the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. And St. Louis was at one time the hotbed, the hot spot for professional wrestling um, before New York took over. And just to go down the list of some of the other championships that he had 2 versions of the AWA World Title. Um, Not the one that Vern Gagne had. For whatever reason, the American Wrestling Association had different versions of the world title. The two that Buddy had were the Ohio version and the Chicago version. So where those fall under the lineage of the actual world title, I don't know. Um, and also with American Wrestling Association in New England area, he held the Eastern States Heavyweight title. Um, with the NWA, he held not only the World Championship, but he also had the United States Championship and the United States Tag Team Championship on 2 different occasions. One with Johnny Valentine, who is the father of Greg Valentine, and a guy named Johnny Baran. Him, I am not familiar with. Uh, he's also held a world championship in what's called the Jack Pfeiffer promotions. Um, Again, I'm not familiar with that. He's had the world title with in Montreal Athletic Commission, the MWA Midwest Wrestling Association. He held the Ohio Tag Team Championship 7 times. 6 of them with a guy named Great Scott. I'm not talking about Christopher Lloyd. And the other one with a guy named Juan Sebastian. Also, back in the NWA, he has held the North American Championship, um, the Mid America Championship. He held the Chicago version of the United States Championship, again, different lineage.
Hmm.
It's also World Tag Team Championship, what is branded the San Francisco version. So NWA is just really spread out for whatever reason. They had multiple different territories, but they just use the same name, National Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah.
I can understand that because I kind of do the same thing with things, things of
Right.
Indiana, to Colorado. Yeah. Let's see. He has also received the Stanley Weston Award from the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, which is considered the biggest award that PWI gives you because that is um, like an editor based award, not fan based. Although I don't really know if that should really be much of a difference. But they consider it the biggest award that PWI gives you. Um, he's also held the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance WWWA World Heavyweight Championship, along with the Maryland Eastern Heavyweight Championship. He held that title 12 times. Um, and then he also had the NWA Texas Championship and the NWA Texas Tag Team Championship. Now, the Texas Championship, the singles title, he held that 7 times. Um, and then also another version of the North American Championship, this time the Amarillo version. So it it just gets really confusing, especially when you start having the same name titles,
Hmm.
and it makes you wonder, well, which one is the true one? You know.
Right.
Um, but he first wrestled in. He made his debut in 1939. His last match was in 1983. Now this is 20 years after he won and lost the original WWF World Title, and also he served in the military. He was a part of the United States Navy, and it also says here that he served, um, worked in a shipyard during World War II. So Buddy Rogers is a war veteran. Um, and then he went on to become one of the most notable wrestlers ever, especially in the WWE, known as their first ever world champion.
There was a Buddy Rogers in the Freebirds, if I recall right. I know it wasn't him because this guy was a lot younger. Whenever Hayes and Terry Gordy were.
Yeah. So, oh, I also should point out he did have a match with Ric Flair back in the late '70s, and they had a little bit of a feud, and that was where he put over Ric Flair, and Ric Flair was the true Nature Boy. Um, so that's what I got on Buddy Rogers.
Awesome. All right, our third, or let's see, no, one, two, let's see, no, four. Number four, Bobo Brazil. Pull Bobo's stuff up here. Bobo Brazil, actual name, born name is Houston Harris, born July 10th, 1924. He died January 20th, 1998. Better known, of course, in his ring name of Bobo Brazil. He was credited with breaking down barriers of racial segregation in professional wrestling. Harris is considered one of the first black professional wrestlers to be in a marquee name in North America. He was born 1924 in Little Rock, Arkansas, but later lived in East St. Louis, Illinois. And it says here Benton Harbor, Michigan. His father died when he was 7 years old, which resulted in him doing odd jobs such as working on a local fruit farm for 50 cents a container. He also played in the baseball. He played baseball in Negro leagues for the House of David, where he was discovered to become a wrestler at a steel mill. He was trained by Joe Savo, Savodi, yeah,
Savoli.
Savodi, after meeting him in matches at the Naval Armory. Uh, Tidbit information here. Savodi originally named Harris Bobo Brazil, the South American giant, where he wrestled using a sequined satin cap or cape. Let me redo this. The South American giant, where he wrestled using a sequined satin cape stitched together by his wife. But a promoter misprinted his name as Bobo in an advertisement, and the name stuck with Harris throughout his career. So originally it wasn't supposed to be Bobo, it was supposed to be Boo Boo, which I think is a better name. Bobo is probably
Yeah, I think Bobo is a better name too.
Boo Boo. That just reminds me of Yogi Bear. uh, his first recorded match was March 29th, 1948 in Benton Harbor Wrestling as Houston Harris, the Black Panther, against Armand Myers to a 30-minute draw. Uh, Savoldi taught him to be an honest athlete in the ring and never take shortcuts on anybody to win a match. He was instilled to be a crowd's friend right to the end. Finding success in Detroit, Brazil developed a fan base among both black and white populace with his modesty and stylish dress and professionalism, making him a big draw and appealing babyface with both races of fans. Although loved by fans, Brazil nonetheless dealt with bigotry and discrimination during this time. Of course, the segregation and everything else back during that time. Uh, he ascended to stardom. African American fans were forced to sit in areas that made it hard to see his matches. Harris himself was banned from going to restaurants, hotels, and even wrestling in certain territories due to the color of his skin. In the early 50s, he also performed in Japan. Uh, he had many matches with competitors such as Killer Kowalski, Dick the Bruiser, Johnny Valentine, Haystacks Calhoun, and the Sheik, who he feuded with Brazil over the course of several decades, with a variety of their matches being acclaimed bloody matches. Um, a lot of people would fall victim to Brazil's finishing move with a cocoa butt. Brazil also wrestled Bill Miller to a draw. He challenged Bruno Sammartino for the WWF Heavyweight Championship in a battle of the two top babyface competitors. Noted thing with Buddy Rogers here on October 18, 1962, Brazil defeated Nature Boy Buddy Rogers by hitting him in the groin, causing Rogers to be unable to continue. Brazil refused the championship and then met a couple weeks later, and Rogers won that one. It says here at the time the promoters were working a gimmick where the champion would be hit in the groin and the challenger wouldn't accept the title. So it must have been a ongoing thing there for a little bit. Let's move on down. Brazil served as a mentor to wrestler Soul Man Rocky Johnson. Later, everybody knows who Rocky Johnson is.
Hmm.
He was inspirational to boxer Joe Frazier, James Dudley. He was a manager of James Dudley, the first African man to be in charge of a major arena in the United States. Uh, Chicago, Jim Kaminsky. He was inducted in the WWF Hall of Fame class of '94. Excuse me. He was inducted to WWF Hall of Fame class of '94 by longtime rival Ernie Ladd. I used to watch Ernie Ladd back in Mid South days. He was really good. He had a wife and 6 children. After retiring from wrestling, he ran a restaurant called Bobo's Grill, which lasted more than 20 years. Didn't say where it was at. Uh, his son Carl, born in '52, wrestled as Bobo Brazil Jr. in the independent circuit. It says he died. Says he died here in 1998. Of course, I said that a while ago. Lakeland Center Medical Center in Joseph, Michigan. He was admitted to the hospital on the 14th and used his wheelchair after suffering a series of strokes. So apparently, strokes is what got him in the end. Oh, goodness, he's got a long list of accomplishments and world titles, including other Hall of Fames. NWA Big Time Wrestling in Detroit, NWA Heavyweight Championship, Detroit version 9 times. NWA World Tag Team Championship, Detroit version 8 times with Art Thomas, Bill Miller, and Thor Lane, the Stomper, Tony Marino, and Fred Curry. Big Time Wrestling in San Francisco, heavyweight champion there once, Championship Wrestling from Florida, NWA Florida Tag Team Champion 2 times with Sweet Brown Sugar and Dusty Rhodes. So him and Dusty were tag partners at one point. International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, Class of 2023, which is not too long ago. He was an NWA International Heavyweight Champion in Japan Wrestling twice, Maple Leaf Wrestling in Canada, NWA Canada Open Tag Championships, Whopper Billy Watson with his tag partner. Excuse me, sinus stuff is going on. United States Heavyweight Champion Toronto version once, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling once, Midwest Wrestling Association, which is in Ohio, Ohio Heavyweight Champion once, Ohio Tag Team Champions 3 times with Frankie Calabro, National Wrestling Alliance NWA Hall of Fame Class of 2013, the NWA Hollywood Wrestling Worldwide Wrestling Association. He's heavyweight champion there 3 times, international television tag team champions 4 times, NWA Pacific Coast Heavyweight Championship Los Angeles version once. He was the World Heavyweight Champion there twice. We're going to go down to Superstars of Wrestling, SWW United States Heavyweight Champion once. So I wonder if that has anything to do with WWE or is that just something totally different. World Wrestling Association in Indianapolis, Heavyweight Champion there twice, World Tag Team Champions once, Worldwide Wrestling Federation, United States Heavyweight Champion 7 times. Gosh. And he was inducted in WWF Hall of Fame Class of '94, back when they were WWF and not WWE. Other championships would be the World Negro Heavyweight Championship twice. So, you know, it's hard enough being a professional wrestler and having any, I guess, clout back in the day. But can't imagine being him African American having to fight not only the segregation and all the bigotry back in the day, and um, even trying to maybe push that career.
I'm sure he
All
was
all
faced with
that
a
time.
lot of it.
So he was a trendsetter, broke the barrier for a lot of wrestlers today. Um,
And he was a giant of a man too, 6'6". Um,
6'6", 270 pounds,
yeah.
both from Benton Harbor, Michigan. Um, Debuted in '51, retired in '93.
Now that's where that contradicts each other because he said that his first recorded match was 1948. But yet he's got his debut listed at 1951.
Let me go back and look. Brazil's first recorded match was on March 29th, 1948 in Benton Harbor. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
What
so
you mentioned earlier about the Hall of Fame, I thought was really cool because I don't recall of this happening with any other two people. Where Bobo was inducted by Ernie Ladd, and then the following year he inducted Ernie Ladd into the Hall of
hmm,
Fame. I don't know of any two other people who've been able to do that.
yeah, Ernie Ladd, he was a big, tall guy. I remember him being really tall.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, 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 no. Triple H and Shawn Michaels inducted each other.
Yeah,
I think.
Big Cat Ernie Ladd. Yep, Big Cat Ernie Ladd. American professional football defensive tackle, professional wrestler, staying an athlete in high school. Ladd attended Grambling State University on a basketball scholarship before being drafted to the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, I definitely would have liked to have seen him in the later years.
You talking about Bobo or Ernie?
Bobo.
Yeah, Ernie was 6'9". I remember him being just
Oh.
really big. Good lord, he was big.
Whew. I just can't imagine being that tall.
I remember him in Mid South. We're kind of getting off of Bobo there. I remember Ernie Ladd being there, and he was, to me, I think he was always a heel type character.
um, yeah, I would have liked to have seen Bobo Brazil wrestle. Um, that would probably have been quite a sight. All right, so up next is probably the biggest name from um, back in the day, and that is Bruno Sammartino. Um, and he has quite the history. So he was born in Italy, October 6, 1935, and died April 18, 2018 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was 82. And he wasn't a big man. He was only 5'10".
Hmm.
So when you go from one legend to another, like Hulk Hogan, who was 6'7", it's like holy cow. But Bruno has the record for the longest ever men's world championship at I had it at 2,803 days,
Wow.
7.5 years, over 7.5 years. He was the one that beat Buddy Rogers just 3 weeks into his reign as the first ever world champion for the WWF or WWF. Um, so Bruno ended up beating him in 48 seconds.
Wow.
So again, that kind of tells you the urgency that they needed to get the title off of Buddy Rogers. But I don't think anybody could have ever thought that he would hold on to the title as long as they did, even though that they had done multi-year championship reigns. was commonplace back then. He made his debut in 1959, which was also the same year that he got married and had three kids. And one of them being David Sammartino, who had a match at WrestleMania 1. Bruno actually had a match at WrestleMania 2.
David had one.
Yeah, David was in a match at WrestleMania 1 against Brutus Beefcake.
Okay.
And Bruno was in David's corner. The match ended in a double countout. Um, it is actually a sad story about David because he had so much pressure on him, a lot of expectation for him to be every bit as good as Bruno was. But it a lot of times the kids don't live up to the reputation that their parents did, or like in the case of Randy Orton, far surpassed anything that Bob Orton ever did. Um, so it's never the case of matching what your parent does. You either surpass what your parent did or you don't measure up.
Yeah, and I can't imagine being, having somebody, your father, your father is, this bigger than life, professional or different sports. I mean, it's even in football and other sports, and the amount of pressure. Sorry, amount of pressure that they, have to go through to kind of live up because you got big expectations for you, and
Right.
not everybody makes it. You know.
And when it came time for Bruno to win the title, the reason that they took the title off of Buddy was because he had gone to the hospital three times in May or April of 1963. So the decision had been made to get the title off of him. Now Bruno was not the choice. It was actually between either him or Antonio Rocca, but they went with Bruno because he was younger. He was only 27 at the time, and Antonio Rocca was 42.
I can see why they would go with Bruno.
Right. Um, but that's not to say anything bad about Rocca because he's still considered one of the greatest wrestlers of all time as well, and the one who innovated the high flying style. Uh, but anyway, Bruno held on to the world title for 7.5 years. He beat everybody, um, and everyone thought that he would hold on to the title forever until um, January 18th, 1971, when he took on Ivan Koloff, and Ivan won the match. He beat Bruno Sammartino. Um, didn't even hook the leg. I actually saw the match. Did not even hook the leg. Now, here is where things kind of get a little fuzzy. The announcer um, had said that you could hear a pin drop because everybody was so stunned. What I heard was a lot of people kind of like gasping because they could not believe what they had just saw. This was basically the 1971 version of Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30.
Yeah,
There's no
that was a
street.
big shocker. I can relate to that.
So, and I had heard that at the time Bruno was getting tired. By this point, he was, I think, 35, and he's wrestling every single weekend, multiple times a week, selling out Madison Square Garden. I think he still has the record for most sellouts of the Garden. I think he still does. Um, so he the way that I hear it is that he needed a break. He wanted some time to rest. So that's why Ivan Koloff ended up winning it. But then he would immediately turn around and lose it to Pedro Morales. I think it was Pedro, who himself went on to have 1,000-day reign. Then later on, um, Vince J. McMahon, uh, a year or so later, asked Bruno to come back. I want to put the title back on you. He initially refused it because he didn't want to do it. And then after being guaranteed less dates to work and a little more on the gate profits, then Sammartino decided, okay, I'll go ahead and take the title. So that's where they started doing the whole thing. Pedro Morales lost the title to Stan Stasiak, and then Bruno took it from him. Stasiak had the title for, I think, 1 week. Um, so at the time, the shortest reign, and then Bruno would hold on to the title 5 more years or 4 more years.
Hmm.
During that time, he did suffer a neck fracture from a clothesline from Stan Hansen, and Stan Hansen. That's not a shocker because I think he was the one who um, created the powerful clothesline called the lariat that Bradshaw does and a few others.
A clothesline from hell.
Yeah, and then finally in 1977, Sammartino told McMahon Sr. that he felt like he could no longer continue because of all these injuries. So on April 30th, 1977, he was defeated by superstar Billy Graham. And Billy Graham, up until Roman, was the longest heel world champion from start to finish. We had other heel champions, but they would turn at some point. Like Randy Savage won the title as a face and then lost it as a heel. So nobody came close to Billy Graham until Roman Reigns did when he finally won it as a heel and lost it still as a heel 730 days later. Um, so Bruno rested for a little bit and then he came back, wrestled some more, and then finally um, had a retirement. And as of WrestleMania 1, he was retired. Then he um, came back and wrestled in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 2. So at least the at the time the greatest world champion ever wrestled in WrestleMania. Granted, he didn't win, but I don't think that was the point. He just wanted to wrestle at WrestleMania.
Right.
Of course, at the time they had no idea that it would be what it is today, but still is groundbreaking. Um, so he had some more matches over the years. His last match was in or last WWF match was in August 29th, 1987, where he teamed up with Hulk Hogan. and defeated the One Man Gang and King Kong Bundy. Um, and then he retired. He was done. Then something happened with him and Vince McMahon, the one that we all know. And Bruno wouldn't have anything to do with the WWF. He wouldn't make any appearances. He would do absolutely nothing because what McMahon was doing with the WWF was completely um, the opposite of what he felt professional wrestling should be. So he would have nothing to do with it and held that course until 2013. So for 25 years, he would have nothing to do with the WWF until Triple H had a conversation with him and told him, "Okay, here's what you know of us. Here's how it really is today." Um, and a lot of that had to do with the steroid issue that they had, um, which scared a lot of people back then.
Hmm.
Because if there was a guilty verdict instead of a not guilty, WWF probably would have shut its doors, and we wouldn't
Okay.
have now. Um, so finally, Bruno Sammartino was inducted into the WWF Hall of Fame in 2013. He was inducted by Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was kind of a surprise for me because I'm not really sure what the connection there would have been. Um, and then a couple years later, Bruno would turn around and induct Larry Sabisco into the Hall of Fame. And Bruno and Larry was probably Bruno's greatest rivalry because Bruno was his mentor.
Hmm.
And then Larry didn't, I don't quite remember how it went, but he just couldn't break out of his shadow. And then they had an exhibition match, and Larry was never able to get the upper hand on him. And finally, he snapped, turned on him, and they had this humongous cage match, um, which Bruno was the ultimate victor. Now, running down the list um, of all the accomplishments is obviously he is two-time Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion. One of those reigns is the longest, not only in World Wrestling Federation, but the longest ever in the world um, at 2,800 days. He was also a WWF United States champion, along with the NWA United States champion. Um, he was the Worldwide Wrestling Association heavyweight champion and their final heavyweight champion, as a matter of fact. Um, Also with the WWWA, he held the World Tag Team Championship with Argentina Apollo. Um, in the World Wrestling Federation, he had the International Tag Team Championship, one with Dominic Danishi, and his real name is Tony Moreno, but he was going by the Batman at the time. Um, Also in the WWA, he had the World Tag Team Championship with Dick DeBruiser. He was also the World Wrestling Council North American Champion. Um, let's see here. NWA United. Okay, I already mentioned that. NWA International Tag Team Championship with Whipper Billy Watson, and he also held the Grand Prix Tag Team Championship with Edward Carpentier. I know I'm saying his name wrong. And he is also a one-time Wrestler of the Year for Pro Wrestling Illustrated, five-time Match of the Year. One was a Battle Royal, which I don't understand how that ever happened because nobody ever votes on a battle. I do. Um, that was in 1972. In 1975 with Spiros Arian. In 76 with Stan Hansen. That was the match that fractured his neck. In 1977 against Billy Graham. And then in 1980 against Larry Sabisco. And that one was where they had that cage match. So in the 1970s, Bruno Sammartino was what Shawn Michaels was in the 90s and the 2000s with Match of the Year. He also was awarded the Stanley Western Award. And here's what surprised me. In 2003, you know how PWI does their 500 ranking every year?
Hmm.
Well, they did a 500 ranking in 2003 of all time wrestlers. He was number 200.
Really?
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't see that could how that could be possible with the accomplishments he did. He had a 7.5 year world championship reign, and you rank him 200. That doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Um, but otherwise, he's also a member of 8 halls of fame, which include the George Tragos Luthez Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, um, the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, the International Sports Hall of Fame, Keystone State Wrestling Alliance, um, the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum, Worldwide Wrestling Alliance, the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame, and finally the WWE Hall of Fame. And also, this year is listed as an accomplishment. I don't know if I agree with it or not, but it is a big deal. But he is one of the few wrestlers to have the bronze statue made of him. Um, and as of right now, they only have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9 wrestlers with a bronze statue. And Bruno was the second one. Uh, First one was Andre. So, okay. Okay, here we go. When I was talking about the sellout, um, while San Martino is commonly understood to have sold out Madison Square Garden 180 times, other records are indicating that he had only done it about 45 times. And even 45,
45 times still high as hell.
that's 45 is still a pretty good number. Um, but I would be more inclined to believe the 187 simply because he had 2 very long reigns. Two reigns
Hmm.
that totaled more than 11 years as world champion. So that kind of tells you the the impression, the mark that he left on wrestling at that time. Um, so when you talk about greatest of all time, there is no legitimate conversation that doesn't include him. Um, But yeah, so there's Bruno Sammartino. He is our fourth inductee tonight, fifth overall, um, and just one of the absolute biggest names ever. And that's all I got.
Yeah, I haven't had the pleasure of watching hardly any of his matches, and a lot of these guys, these older guys. It's hard to find any good footage, you know, of any of this old school wrestlers from back in the day, even
Mhm.
before we were born, you know. So I mean, it's even hard to find any good '80s stuff, you know, as far as like early '80s. That's not so uh, bad condition that you can actually watch it. So we're going to number 6 overall. Andre the Giant. Now, Andre is synonymous with Hulk Hogan. You can't, even if you're not a wrestling fan, you know who Andre the Giant is.
Mhm.
Um, Andre Rene, I think I messed his name up. Rusinov.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Uh, Born May 1946 in France. Died the 20th of January 1993 at the age of 46 due to heart failure. He died in his sleep. Um, he was dubbed as the eighth wonder of the world, known because, of course, from his great size, which he suffered from giantism, uh, by basically caused from an excessive uh, human growth hormone. Uh, he began his career in '66, relocated to North America in '71. Yeah, relocated in the year I was born. There's a connection there. From '73 to the mid '80s, Andre was booked by the Worldwide Wrestling Federation by Vincent J. McMahon, Vince's dad, as a roving special attraction. He wrestled for promotions throughout the United States as well in Japan, for New Japan Wrestling. During the '80s wrestling boom, he became a mainstay of the. Oh,
What'd you do? I think he spilled his drink
can
on
you hear me?
himself.
Hello?
Can hear you.
Lost some audio. Can you
You
hear
can
me?
hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, I can hear you now. Okay. Yeah, I got you. Give
Okay.
me just a second. This is the first ever on this show. I just got cramping my leg.
Oh.
Oh God, that hurts.
Hey, you know what? This is actually kind of appropriate because Andre for the last 10 years hurting really bad.
Oh my God.
Wow. Well, we certainly wasn't expecting this, folks. So um, I suppose I could probably try to continue on with what uh, Donald was saying. So, oh,
Mm. it's still hurting, but I'm gonna keep going. Oh
Okay.
God. Oh my God. I can't walk it out, man. Oh, what a Charlie horse. Oh, back to Andre. Where are we at? During wrestling boom in the 80s, Andre became mainstay of the WWF, then renamed, of course, World Wrestling Federation. Being paired with, of course, villainous manager Bobby Brain Heenan and Freeman Hogan, he headlined uh, two headline WrestleMania 3. That's the synonymous. I think everybody can remember that WrestleMania, even if you're not a wrestling fan. That's the first time I saw where uh, George Michael George Michael Sports Machine actually um, uh, gave the outcome of that in 1987. Uh, in '88, he defeated Hogan to win the the heavyweight championship, but that was a controversial win. I think that was that the two what's the referee's name? Um, the twins. Do you remember that?
Say that again.
The when he defeated Hogan in '88 for the championship, there was two
Oh,
referees. They were twins.
the,
Um,
the Hebners.
Hebners. That's it.
Um,
Um,
Dave was the referee, and then Earl came in and became the senior referee, and Dave moved on to being a backstage, um, like backstage producer.
yeah, that was pretty wild. You know, I saw it when it happened. I was like, "What the heck is going on here?" But you know,
Yeah,
you never thought of. That was a good little gimmick there. um,
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at you.
it's still there. It's just not. I got it stretched out. So, of course, that was his only WWF Heavyweight Championship. Uh, on the first episode of the main event, as his WWF career wound down after WrestleMania 6, he wrestled mainly for All Japan Pro Wrestling. After his death in '93, he became the inaugural inductee into the newly created WWF Hall of Fame. He was later a charter member of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame and the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Uh, and of course, what I've already said is later described as him being one of the most recognizable figures in the world of professional wrestling and as a pop culture icon. He's also, and we'll get into that, he was best known for appearing as Physic, Phys, Physic the Giant in 1987, The Princess Bride. Um, I remember them talking about them contacting him about that thing, and he was still not in great health at that time. Whenever he was in there, but uh, he was the son of immigrants Boris and Marianne. His father was Bulgarian, his mother was Polish. He was raised as a Catholic. He had two older siblings. I did not know that. Um, at birth, he weighed 13 pounds and displayed symptoms of giantism. He was noted as a good head taller than the other kids with abnormally long hands. In a '70s television interview, it was stated that his mother was 5'2" and his father was 6'2", and that according to his father, his grandfather was 7'8". So it must have been a genetic thing in their family.
Was not aware of that.
Yeah. 7'8". Good God, that's a tall human being. Let's see where it shows him. Build height. So, con- comparing that to Andre, it says here build height was 7'4". So his grandfather was 4 inches taller than Andre was. Build weight was 520. He debuted in January 25th, 1966. He was an average student, though good at mathematics. When he was 14, decided against further schooling and joined the workforce. He figured he believed that he was sufficient for his career as a farmhand. He spent years working at his father's farm. Well, according to his brothers, he performed the work of three men. He also completed an apprenticeship in woodworking and next worked in a factory that manufactured engines for hay balers. Um, while growing up in the 1950s, the Irish playwright Samuel Beckett was one of several adults who sometimes drove local children's schools, including, which I don't know why that's even. At the age of 18, he moved to Paris, was taught professional wrestling by a local promoter, Robert Leggett, recognizing the earning potential of Andre because of his size. He trained at night and worked as a mover during the day to pay for a living expenses. Uh, he he began his wrestling career in his native France. He made his TV debut that year in French television against Le Pit Prince. In '68, he defeated Franz von Bitten for the FFCP World Heavyweight Champion. I guess it's a French wrestling organization. '69, he appeared on the United Kingdom's World Sport Program, regularly wrestling slot, defeated Jim Hussey, father of Mark Rocco. Of course, he began making a name for himself in West Germany, Australia, New Zealand, and Africa. In 1970 is where he made his first Japanese debut international wrestling enterprise. Wrestled both single tag competitors. He quickly made the IWA World Tag Team champion alongside Michael Nador. During this time, the Japan doctors first informed Rusev of Andre that he suffered from something else, acromegaly or something. Must be their version of giantism. He next moved to Montreal, Canada in '71 and became an immediate success, regularly selling out Montreal Forum. Promoters eventually ran out of plausible opponents for him as the novelty of his size wore off. The gate receipts dwindled down. Um, he was defeated by Adani Al-Kasi in Baghdad in '71 and wrestled numerous times in '71. In '73, Vincent J. McMahon, founder of the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, became Andre's agent. McMahon suggested several changes to booking and presentation to enhance his star power. He felt that Andre should be portrayed as a large, immovable monster, and to enhance the perception of his size, McMahon discouraged him from performing maneuvers such as drop kicks, although he was capable of performing such maneuvers before his health deteriorated in later life. Um, he began billing Andre as Andre the Giant and set up a travel intensive schedule leading him to wrestling associations around the world. To keep him from becoming overexposed in any area, promoters had to guarantee Andre a certain amount of money as well as pay McMahon's WWF booking fee. In '73, he debuted in the Worldwide Wrestling Federation as a fan favorite, defeating Frank Vallis and Bull Palmetti in a handicap match in Philadelphia. Um, I'm gonna stop right there for just a second. I remember Andre wrestling in Mid South for a few times. So apparently Mid South must have paid his booking fee as well as the Vince's um, booking fee as well. Um, I remember him wrestling there, and I vaguely remember him having some handicap matches where he just destroyed the two wrestlers that was in there.
Do you remember when I told you I got that Legends of Mid South, like the 3 disc thing at Mega Replay? Well, there was a thing in there with him in it, and he got slammed by Kamala.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
Kamala
you
is
know,
one of like 4 people, 5 people who's ever slammed Andre. There's
and there's
Kamala, Hogan, Harley Race. I think Stan Hansen slammed him, and Ultimate Warrior.
yeah, well, and they would tell you, even Hogan would tell you is like if he didn't want you to slam him, you would slam him.
So
Um,
yeah, I believe that. If he didn't
so
want to do anything, it's not going to happen.
correct. I saw him later. Of course, in WWF at the time. In later years, he was really bad health. I remember him feuding with Jake Roberts a few times. He was definitely scared of the snake that Jake Roberts brought. Trying to think, he didn't wrestle him at WrestleMania. Who did Jake Roberts wrestle? Because I remember Alice Cooper coming to the ring with Jake Roberts.
That was 3.
Yeah.
No,
Um,
it was um,
was that Honky Tonk
what
Man?
Drake, Jake, and Andre. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it was Jake and Andre. Uh,
Not in three.
no, Alice came out with Jake at WrestleMania 3,
Correct.
but Jake and Andre had a match at WrestleMania 5, and Big John Studd was the special guest referee.
Let's see. Back to here.
I really love that WrestleMania.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
Um, that's the first WrestleMania I ever watched. Um, back in the day, I remember renting the video, the VHS. You can rent videos back then, and watching it. Um, it's when I really got big into WWF was because of WrestleMania 3. Um,
Oh, 3.
yeah,
Okay.
that's,
I
that was
think
my
5 might have been my first WrestleMania I've ever watched, but I'm not certain yet.
He was most beloved babyface throughout the 70s and early 80s, as such, Gorilla Monsoon often slated that Andre had not been defeated in 15 years by pinfall or submission prior to WrestleMania 3. Uh, Probably not completely true, um, but who knows? He
No.
had lost matches outside of WWF. He lost to Adnan Ali Kasai in Baghdad in 71, uh, lost in 72, lost to Killer Kowalski in Quebec in 72, lost in a count out to Sheik in Toronto in 74 after a fireball was thrown in Andre's face. Knockout to Jerry Lawler in Memphis in 75 and a count out to Lawler in Louisville in 77. Draw with Bobo Brazil at the Battle Royal in Detroit in 76. Ronnie Garvin,
That
Knoxville in
was
78.
a match to watch, him and Bobo.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Stan Hansen by disqualification in Japan in 81. Kamala by countout in Toronto in 84. A guy named Connect in Mexico in 84. And this goes on. Harley Race in Houston. Nick Bockwinkel in Chicago. Um,
Hi, Kate.
uh, in 76, it says at the second showdown at Shea, Andre fought professional boxer Chuck Webner in an unscripted boxing versus wrestling fight. Um, The wild fight was shown via telecast as part of the undercard of the Muhammad Ali versus Antonio Inoki fight. Of course, he feuded with Hogan. That's one of the biggest feuds that we can ever remember. Um,
I have always considered Hulk and Andre at WrestleMania 3 to be the most important match ever.
that one really WrestleMania 3 was a groundbreaking one. I know one and two, especially one had its time, but three is like wrestling had that big boom right during and after that. Um, and him beating Andre at three was like just like the almost like the Stone Cold
Yes.
um,
Well, even
King of
Hogan
the Ring.
said that that was the match that launched him into the upper echelons.
Right. Um, uh, Hogan. See, unlike their more famous matches in the late '80s, Hogan was the villain and Andre was the hero, wrestling him at Shea Stadium at the third Showdown at Shea, Pennsylvania, where Andre pinned Hogan to win the match. Hogan body slammed him, much like their legendary WrestleMania 3 match, and the '87 feud continued in '82 and '83 in Japan. So Hogan body slammed him uh, before WrestleMania 3. Um, we're going to go through. So he was in the hospital in Boston, returned with a paycheck in his money. Let's see. So was, we're going to go into the World Wrestling Federation. 84 to 91. 84, he feuded with the Heenan family from 84 to 87. In 82, Vincent J. McMahon sold the Worldwide Wrestling Federation to his son Vince. McMahon began to expand the newly acquired promotion to the national level. He required wrestlers to appear exclusively for him. He signed Andre to these terms in '84, although he still allowed him to work in Japan. Of course, he feuded with Big John Studd. Remember that? That was WrestleMania 2, where they had the body slam
One.
match.
That was WrestleMania 1.
That was that one.
Yeah, because they were both in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 2.
Okay, yeah, I see that now. Um, Throughout the early 1980s, Andre and Studd fought all over the world, battling to try to determine who was the real John of wrestling. In '84, Studd took the feud to a new level when he and partner Ken Patera knocked out Andre during a televised tag team match and proceeded to cut his hair. After gaining revenge on Patera, Andre met Studd at the Body Slam Challenge at WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania, which was held 31st of March in '85, of course, at Madison Square Garden. Andre slammed Studd to win the match and collected 15,000 prize money. Then proceeded to throw the cash to fans before having the bag taken from his uh, manager, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Uh, and Bobby the Brain Heenan is one of the greatest managers that to ever step in there. Uh, After WrestleMania 2, he continued to feud with Studd and King Kong Bundy. Requested a leave of absence to tend to his health since the effects of the um, condition were beginning to take their toll, as well as to tour Japan. He also had been cast in Princess Bride, which we talked about. His health was not that great. To explain his absence, a storyline was developed in which Heenan suggested that Andre was secretly afraid of Studd and Bundy, whom Heenan bragged were unbeatable. Challenged by Andre and a partner was choosing wrestling Studd and Bundy a televised tag match. When Andre failed to show, President Jack Tunney definitely suspended him. Later in the summer of '86, Andre returned to the United States and began wearing a mask and competing as a giant machine. So I can imagine seeing him in a mask. You know, you know, who else looks like that? Would you would say was somebody else? Now, he was in a stable known as the Machines, Big Machine and Super Machine. I wonder who Big Machine is. Robert Deroy Wyndham, better known as Blackjack Mulligan. Okay. Uh,
No,
WS Television announced so
in Acts.
do what?
One of the machines was Acts.
Uh, Blackjack Mulligan was an American professional American football player. He was Barry, father of wrestlers Barry and Kendall Wyndham. Uh, anyway, they were the other members? Hulk Hogan. Okay, Machines. I remember that vaguely, vaguely. And Super Machine. Super Machine. There he is. William Reed. Eddie. Edie.
Bill Eadie.
Uh, yeah. Other known as Axe. Member of Demolition. Uh, Hulk Hogan. Hogan as Hulk Machine and Roddy Piper as Piper Machine. Also, one-time members.
Was a machine.
Do what?
Piper was a machine.
It says Giant Machine. All right. Later in the summer, Andres returned to the United States. He began wearing a mask, competing as the Giant Machine in a stable known as the Machines, with Big Machine, Super Machine, and other members were Hulk Hogan as Hulk Machine and Roddy Piper as Piper Machine.
Okay, that's a new
Yeah,
one to me.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
they were also one-time members, or one-time members. Okay, so there must have been maybe a Survivor Series.
No, it would have been Survivor Series.
But can you imagine Andre, uh, Blackjack Mulligan, Axe, and then Hogan and Piper, all in masks and basically your machines? Uh,
That would be one hell of a Survivor Series team.
yeah, the WWF's television announcer sold the machines as a gimmick that was copied from New Japan Pro Wrestling character Super Strong Machine. Blah, 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 here.
Now I knew about the first four. I knew Hogan was a machine a couple of times, but that was clearly obvious. But Piper, had no idea. I'm looking on here now. Apparently, George Steele was a machine, and then the
Georgiano.
was a machine.
Who was?
The Crusher,
Okay.
he was Crusher machine, and then George Steele was Animal machine.
That's crazy. Did
Yeah,
they wear masks?
I would imagine they did.
That's crazy.
I,
We'd have to dig into that.
I can't imagine anyone being a machine and not wearing a mask. That's
Yeah.
kind of the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll have to dig into that a little bit to see if we can't find those matches, and either one of us can find it. Share the links and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. That
Uh,
I would definitely like to see that.
87 to 89, he joined up with Heenan and Ted DiBiase, um, part of the Heenan family and the Mega Bucks. Uh, Andre agreed to turn heel in 87 to be the control the biggest babyface in professional wrestling at the time, Hogan. I do remember that on the Edition of Piper's Pit 87, Hogan was presented with a trophy for being the WWF Heavyweight Champion for 3 years. Andre came out to congratulate him, shaking Hogan's hand with a strong grip, which surprised the Hulkster. The following week, Piper's Pit, Andre was presented a slightly smaller trophy for being the only undefeated wrestler in wrestling history, although, of course, it suffered some losses. But
I remember
um,
seeing that clip too.
Hogan came out to congratulate him and ended up being a focal point of the interview. Apparently annoyed, Andre walked out in the midst of Hogan's speech. A discussion between Andre and Hogan was scheduled and on Piper's Pit that aired February 7th, 87. The two met. Hogan was introduced first, followed by Andre, who was led by longtime rival Bobby Heenan. Speaking on his behalf, Heenan uh, accused Hogan of being Andre's friend only so he would not have to defend his title against him. Hogan tried to reason with Andre. Of course, we all, if you're a wrestling fan, you know what this led up to. Andre turning on Hogan, ripping the um, cross off his chest, and of course, in his T-shirt, and basically starting the feud for WrestleMania 3. Following Hogan's acceptance of his challenge on a later edition of Piper's Pit, the two were part of a 20-man over-the-top battle royal on March 14th at Saturday night's main event X in Detroit. It was won by Hercules. Andre claimed to have gained a psychological advantage over Hogan when he threw Hogan. Isn't that the one where he grabbed him by the back of the head and headbutted him and threw him over the top rope? I think he headbutted him twice. He grabbed his hair and headbutted him twice and then threw him over the rope.
I want to say he no, not over the rope. The one that I'm thinking of, I think he did at the main event when he won the world title, headbutted him from behind, and then did a hip toss and pinned him. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know of any match where he would have thrown Hogan over the top rope. I don't recall that one.
Well, somebody would have to throw Hogan over the top rope because Hercules won the match. Advantage over Hogan when he threw the champion over the top rope. So Andre did throw him over the top rope. Um, that was 2 weeks before WrestleMania 3 to make it look like Hogan had met his match with Andre. Uh, at WrestleMania 3 was billed at 520, which and the stress of such immense weight on his bones and joints resulted in constant pain. After recent back surgery, he was also wearing a brace underneath his wrestling singlet. Didn't know that. In front of a record crowd, Hogan won the match, body slamming Andre, later dubbed the Body Slam, heard around the world. Followed by Hogan's, of course, running leg drop finisher. Hogan claimed that Andre was so heavy he felt more like 300 or felt like more like 700 pounds. Um, Another myth about the match was no one, not even WWF owner Vince McMahon, knew lost the match sometimes before, mostly for health reasons. Contrary to popular belief, it was not the first time that Hogan had successfully body slammed. We already discussed that. By the time WrestleMania 3, WWF went national, giving more meaning to Andre Hogan match that took place than the feud between Hogan and Andre, similar during the 77-87. Andre's health declined. The feud began heating up again while wrestlers were named captains of rival teams. The inaugural Survivor Series event during the approximate 1 minute of battling each other during the match. Hogan dominated Andre and was on the brink of knocking him from the ring, but was tripped up by his partners. Uh, I'm guessing King Kong Bundy and One Man Gang, and will be counted out. Um, Andre went on to be the sole survivor of the match, pinning Bam Bam Bigelow. Now, Bam Bam Bigelow was the guy I remember back in the day. Um,
I remember watching him in 92, 93, 94, 95, and seeing him move the way that he does.
yeah, Andre went out to the sole survivor of the match before Hogan returned to the ring attack. Andre knocked him out of the ring. Andre later got revenge on Hogan and won a match against Bundy on Saturday night's main event. He snuck up from behind and began choking Hogan to the brink of unconsciousness, not letting him go even after an army of seven face-aligned wrestlers ran to the ring and tried to pull him away. He took Hacksaw Duggan, breaking a piece of wood over his back. I remember this, which he no-sold, which means he just kind of took the shot and looked at him for him to let go, for those who don't know what no-sold is. After which Hogan was pulled to safety. As the case with Saturday's main event, Battle Royal a year later, series of events was one of the pieces that helped build interest in a possible one-on-one rematch between Hogan and Andre. And to make it seem that Andre was certain to win easily when they did meet. Meanwhile, Andre returned to Germany in December of '87 for another match with Wands, which he lost by count out. Meantime, of course, Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase failed to pursue Hogan to sell him the WF World Heavyweight Champion. That was back when DiBiase was buying everything. Um, after failing to defeat Hogan in a series of matches, DiBiase turned to Andre to win it for him. Him and DiBiase had teamed several times in the past, including in Japan, in the WWF in the late '70s and early '80s when they both were faces at the time. The earlier attack DiBiase inserted into the feud to set up Hogan Andre rematch of WrestleMania event to air on February 5th, '88. I remember this. Uh, Acting as a hired gun, Andre won the World Championship from Hogan, which was his first singles title in a match where it was later revealed that opponent referee Dave Hebner, which we talked about, was detained backstage in a replacement whom Hogan afterwards initially accused of having been paid to get plastic surgery to look like Dave. It was revealed to have been his evil twin brother, Earl Hebner, who made the 3 count while Hogan's left shoulder was off the mat. I remember this match we talked about. After Andre won the title, he sold it to DiBiase. The transaction was declared invalid by the WWF president, Jack Tunney, the president. People don't know that they made it look like the wrestling was a legit we say federation type thing where somebody was the president. He was just another character back in the day. Vince always made all the shots, called all the shots. So I remember not Vince. I remember Jesse the Body always talking about, Jack Tunney needs to do something about this, blah blah blah.
A lot of people did not like Jack Tunney.
Yeah, they were unaware, and even I was, back in the day, that unaware that Vince McMahon is sitting there sitting ringside and doing announcements, doing commentary, and he's basically one calling the shots right there. That's back when Vince was the good guy.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, they had I'm wanting to say they had a tournament match. Andre and Hogan fought a double disqualification in a title tournament match.
Mm-hmm.
Remember this. Andre's and Hogan's feud died down to a steel cage match held at WrestleFest, July 31st, '88, where Hogan was the winner. At the inaugural SummerSlam pay-per-view held at Madison Square Garden, Andre and DiBiase, billed as the Mega Bucks, faced Hogan and WWF champion, heavyweight champion, Macho Man. Mega Powers. I remember this one. This was big. In the main event with Jesse the Body Ventura as a special guest referee. During the match, the Mega Powers manager Miss Elizabeth distracted the Mega Bucks and Ventura when she climbed up the ring apron and moved her yellow skirt and walked around in a pair of red, I almost say wrestling pants. Wrestling. It says red panties, but I mean it's red gear.
The one time she got risque in the WWF.
Yeah, that's the only time. And the WWF. Now she did some stuff with WCW back in the day.
Yeah, But in the
Um,
WWF with her at that time, that was unheard of.
yeah, this is way before the whole. Um,
She was the first lady of wrestling,
yeah,
prim and proper, but not that.
exactly, exactly. Not in WCW, but back then it was like they didn't do the risque stuff back then. Of course, that this eventually led to. I'm not going to read all this stuff, but eventually that led up to um, the whole Mega Powers exploding, and Hogan and Macho fighting for the title.
Yeah,
Um,
we should do a series of episodes on rivalries like Hogan Andre, Hogan Savage, Savage Warrior.
do it like kind of a not necessarily like each episode do like one person and the feuds they went through, kind of. Maybe we
Yeah,
could do that.
we could.
Um,
But some of these rivalries, they were so epic. I don't know if you could just do like a quick mention. It would take a whole episode to talk about.
yeah. After Hogan, he's placed a feud with Jim Duggan, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, another good old Mid South guy. Um, Andre really got the upper hand on that feud. Andre next one was we talked about this about with Jake the Snake Roberts. Andre said Andre was afraid of snakes. Something Jake exposed on Saturday Night's Main Event when he threw the snake Damien on the frightened Andre. As a result, he suffered a kayfabe mild heart attack and vowed revenge. Um, Roberts frequently walked the ringside carrying the snake in the bag during Andre's matches, causing Larry to run from the ring in fright. Uh, this was at WrestleMania 5 where they actually fought. Roberts consistently used Damien to gain psychological edge over the much larger stronger Andre. In '89, Andre and returning Big John Studd briefly reprised their feud beginning at WrestleMania 5 when Studd was the referee in the match with Roberts. This time with Studd as a face and Andre as the heel. He did a brief feud in '89, mostly in house shows. Um, I didn't realize this. In a televised match in '89 Massacre Garden when the WWF Intercontinental Champion Ultimate Warrior, Andre began to wear face paint with a similar design to the Warrior and began calling himself the Ultimate Giant. This must be when I don't know, I don't remember this. Um, he appeared on the Brother Love show. The younger Warrior, WWF's rising star, regularly squashed aging Andre in an attempt to showcase his historical item, promote him as the next big thing, which kind of, we all know how that planned out. He's part of Colossal Connection and the Heenan family with Haku. Do believe they won the tag titles together. Um, yeah. Fought Demolition, who had won them from the Brainbusters. Andre and Haku won the tag titles. 90 to 91, returned in the winter of '90, but was not in the World Wrestling Federation. Instead, he made an interview appearance for Herb Abrams' fledgling Universal Wrestling Federation, California. Um, he appeared in an interview segment with Captain Leo Albano and put over the UWF the following month, 30th November, at the house show in Miami, Florida. Blah, blah. His on-air return finally took place at WWF Superstars and Stripes Forever USA Network on March 17, 1991, when he came out to shake the hand of Big Boss Man after an altercation with Mr. Perfect. Uh, we can go on and go on and talk about Andre because he had a massive freaking career. Massive freaking career. Towards the end of his career, he appeared in several films. Had an uncredited appearance in the '84 film Conan the Destroyer as Dagoth, a resurrected horned giant god who was killed by Conan. I didn't realize he was in Conan the Destroyer. He also made appearances in Nick and Maud, TV shows, Princess Bride. Um, there's a long list of, I don't want to say a long list, but from 67 to 84, or 94, excuse me, 94. He was in several movies and TV shows.
And a
He
music
was
video.
in a what?
And a music video.
What music video?
The Goonies are good enough.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. The Goonies are good enough.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a Cindy
Music video in '85. Yeah. Oh, I know the Goonies well. It's one of my favorite movies as a kid. Um, Andre was mentioned in the '74 Guinness Book of World Records as the highest paid wrestler in history. He earned, this was in '74. '74. He earned an annual salary of approximately 400,000, which equivalent to 2024 would be $2.55 million. Good Lord. Over $2.5 million a year back then. What equivalent? Let's say that equivalent 400,000 a year in '74. That's a lot of freaking money.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Uh, Robin Christensen is Andre's only child. Her mother, Jean, who died in '08, became acquainted with Andre through his wrestling business '72 to '73. Uh, had regular contact with her father, but saw him only 5 times in her life. Wow, that's sad.
There was
After his death,
actually a picture of her, Andre's daughter, and Big John Stud's son together a few months ago, floating around on the internet.
really. Um, After his death, she spoke positively about her father and became a guardian of his image and legacy. That's awesome. In '89, he was arrested and charged with assault after he attacked the cameraman. Uh, he was fined $100. Um, he owned a ranch in North Carolina, looked after by his 2 close friends. When he was not on the road, he loved spending time at the ranch where he tended to his cattle, played with his dogs, and entertained friends. There's a lot of interviews and stuff where Jake Roberts and a bunch of the old wrestlers would talk about Andre and riding the road with him. He was a good character. I always like having fun playing jokes. Um, while there, while there were custom-made chairs and a few other modifications in his home to accommodate his size, tales that everything in his home was custom-made for a large man is said to be exaggerated. Since Andre could not easily go shopping due to his frame and size, he was known to spend hours watching and purchasing items from the Home Shopping Network, or Shopping Channel QVC, excuse me. QVC. Da, 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 da. He was dubbed the greatest drunk on earth for once consuming 119 12 U.S. filled ounces of beer. Um, he was on David Letterman. Mike Graham said Andre once drank 156 16 U.S. fluid ounces beers, equivalent to 19.5 gallons in one sitting, which is confirmed by Dusty Rhodes and Fabulous Moolah. Of course, he's a big guy. And I remember Jake Roberts saying, when he held a can of beer, it was like just a little bitty little bitty cannon with big hands.
I actually had an experience similar to that. Um, I started drinking Sprite Zero, and they had the little 8 ounce cans instead of the regular 12 ounce. And
Hmm.
I put the 8 ounce can in my hand,
Hmm.
and I'm looking at that. I bet this is exactly how it was with Andre the Giant when he was carrying those big boys in his hand. That because it seems so
Oh
similar
yeah,
to
yeah,
that.
yeah. I can see it. Jake Roberts. We talk about there's a dang like 2 cases of beer or 3 cases of beer in the back seat of the vehicle while they were driving to the next show. He was drinking all of them. And sadly, on morning of the January 28th, 1993, Andre died of congestive heart failure and apparent heart attack in his sleep, likely associated with untreated ophthalmology. It's a disorder that results in excessive growth of certain parts of the human body, which basically, you know, that was at a Paris hotel at the age of 46. After he visited and played cards and bowling with some of his oldest friends on the night of 27th January 93, returned to his hotel room at 1 a.m. 12 hours later that afternoon, he was found dead in his room by hotel management. Sheriff Hart. He was in Paris at the time. He was in Paris at the time to attend his father's funeral. Oh wow, that's messed up. So he was there to attend his father's funeral, and he winds up dying. He decided to extend his stay there to be with his mother on her birthday. In his will, he specified the remains should be cremated and disposed of. Upon his death in Paris, his family and friends held a funeral for him, intending to bury him near his father. When they learned of his wish to be cremated, his body was flown to the United States, where he was cremated according to his wishes. His ashes were scattered at the ranch in Illinois, North Carolina. Additionally, in accordance with his will, he left his estate to his daughter, Robin, the sole beneficiary. So I could see why he would want that, want nobody, because there's crazy people in the world be
Mhm.
trying to go after his ashes and stuff.
I remember when Andre died. For me, that was the first wrestling death I had known
That
about
was,
because he died just a little over a year after I became a fan. Now I know Buddy Rogers died before him, but there was nothing any written anywhere about him, so I wasn't even aware of it until years later. But Andre was the first that I can recall dying after I become a fan. And then Kerry Von Erich died
hmm
after that.
yeah, the Von Erichs had a bad history.
Yeah. Well, not a bad, a sad
Well,
history.
yeah, a sad history with how they all, passed away in different variations. Um, Championship accomplishments. We'll go through this pretty quick. 50 state Texas Battle Royal in '77. Of course, he didn't hold many championships,
Look right
but
here.
he won a lot of battle royals. Okay, one time WF World Champion, one time World Tag Team Champions with Haku, one time FFCP World Champion, two-time Match of the Year, winner of 180 battle royals. Good Lord, 180 plus. Eighth won the world and 8 Halls of Fame. Um, even though he didn't carry a lot of championships in his career, he was one of those guys, no pun intended, larger than life.
Yeah,
Um,
he did not need a championship.
no, no. Andre was a very unique uh, individual. From what I hear, a very nice guy that I've heard in different interviews. But you know, if he needed to give you a receipt, he would.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well, I'm
Andre the Giant.
that they can at least say that Andre was the WWF champion at one time. even if it did only last 2 minutes.
Right.
Um, but yeah, this whole thing here about the 180 plus battle royals. So I actually went through Cage Match because I wondered about this whole thing of how they kept saying he's won more battle royals than anyone in history. But I was also taking it with a grain of salt because they said that he was undefeated for 15 years. Nobody has ever slammed him, which that turned out to both not be true. So I wondered about the battle royals. And sure enough, he won 185 battle royals in his career. I went through all of his, all 30 pages of it. He's had over 3,000 matches. He's won 74% of them, which is one of the higher percentages for any wrestler. But he really did win more battle royals than anybody in history. Uh oh. Come on, Donald. Get back in here. There we go.
I had a
In there.
uh, uh, computer glitch. I was trying to shut down one of the windows, and my web browser just completely froze up.
Wow.
Kicked me completely out. So,
So I don't know how much of what you caught, but I went through all of his matches. He's got over 3,000 matches, 74% winning percentage. So that's one of the higher ups, and he won 185 battle royals that I could count.
that's crazy.
Yeah. So he really did win more battle royals than anyone in history.
I can believe that easily.
Yeah. And he was going to be the winner of the 1991 Royal Rumble. He was going to come in at number 30 and be the winner, um, but he just wasn't able. He wasn't even able to get down to the ring at that time.
Yeah, well, at WrestleMania 3, they had that whole setup, WrestleMania 3, all the wrestlers coming down in this big cart, thing was basically designed for Andre
Yeah.
because he couldn't walk that far.
At that time, nobody was used to a big arena like that.
Yeah.
Hi, so that's number five. We're 2 hours in already. Um,
Do you want to hold the other one for another day? The last one?
no, let's get this last one in. Let's get this last one in, then we'll call it.
Because I mean, you might talk about this one for another hour.
Yeah, that's true.
And give the suspense out there for people who are watching. Who is this last one for the 2025?
Well, five's a good number to for a
You want to
class.
you want to save him for next year?
Yeah, let's save him for the next one. Yeah, let's not do like yearly thing. Let's do every so often.
Okay, that sounds good to
There's
me.
so many that can go in.
Oh yeah, I mean we had a big list there that we both agreed on these ones, and
Yeah.
then we had a few more that um, were different. So
Okay, let's see here.
that's good fitting. Andre was, oh excuse me, like I said, larger than life, no pun intended.
Well, when you disappear, that's twice now you had an issue tonight. First the Charlie horse.
Yeah. Oh my God, that hurt. Good Lord, that hurt. I stood up and it pulled my headset out of the port, and so I can't hear. You can't hear what's going on. I'm
So
sitting there trying
that's what
to,
happened.
yeah, and I was like, then I plugged it in the wrong spot, and I'm like, can you hear me? Like, can you hear me? Like, oh, it's in the wrong place.
Wow. Okay. So, um,
Oh God.
okay, let's see. Today's the 16th. Oh, so we still got 2 more weeks before Survivor Series.
Oh yeah.
So, will you be able to do another show next weekend?
Should be able to. The 22nd. I do have something going on that morning. I'll be done later that afternoon.
Okay, well, let's do a continuation then. Let's do 5 more.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. Let's do 5 more. We'll just add 4 more to the one we didn't do tonight.
Okay. Oh.
We'll just have to figure out what 4 we're going to do this time.
Agreed.
Uh, yeah, besides, Andre honestly deserves to be a headliner,
I agree.
although
And
it can be said about Bruno Sammartino. But
it's fitting that Hogan was the first and Andre's the last on this.
yeah, I see a trend here.
See a trend.
I'll explain it later. So, okay, yeah, we'll do 5 more next week. Figure out take the one that we were gonna who was gonna headline tonight and push him back next week, and we'll figure out who the other 4 will be. And,
Keep him as a headliner, or you want to throw him in right in the first? It
uh,
is a he. It
let's
is a he.
let's see who the other 4 end up being.
We need to look at a female for the next show.
Well, we definitely need to do females. I also want to do um, inducting matches, and once a year, I would like to induct a whole event.
For that year. What's the best event for that year,
No,
or in
like
general?
one year we do, like say WrestleMania 1, obviously, and WrestleMania 2 or 3, because those 2 WrestleManias are a shoe in for if you want to do like I'm looking at a whole bunch of different categories. I'd like to do arenas and stadiums,
Managers,
huh?
managers.
Managers. But I wanted to get this initial class in with the classics, and I say we did a pretty good job with this one here. Like this is old school wrestlers,
Yeah,
and Andre was probably the last one to have a match. I think
yeah.
so. Okay, we'll figure out who our next 4 will be. Um, and then kind of go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
I need to get to bed. My alarm is set to go off in 5 hours.
Oh God. Well, mine's about the same. I've got another hour.
Yeah, I got to put in probably more closer to 250 miles, but I think it's going to end up getting a little bit beyond that.
Is that one way or is it back and forth?
Back and forth,
Okay.
back and forth.
Well,
I got a couple
as
I have to go to tomorrow.
you can see, I'm yawning like left and right.
I know you have been. You've been yawning and oh,
Yeah, it's like I'm in bad shape
you made
tonight.
that sound. I thought maybe you spilt your drink and you got cold.
Oh no, no, this is surely just pain. I've never had a trouble where it's that bad where I couldn't get it out. Usually I get them every once in a blue moon. I can walk it out pretty quick. This is just decide to stay there.
Yeah, yeah, it happens.
Let's hope it doesn't happen the next show.
It happens. So, all right, folks, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. We originally weren't going to be doing it this late, but things happen, and I guess we'll just see you all next week with the second class of the Marks on Wrestling Hall of Fame.
And if you're just now falling into this, tune into our show there, check us on YouTube and all that and your social media platforms because we got a lot of shows.
Yep, we're on YouTube. Can't count Facebook anymore because they delete shows after 4 weeks.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. So we're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Spotify. Uh, yeah, so check us out. All right, Donald. Well, I'll bid you good night and stretch out that Charlie horse.
Yeah, I'm fixing to go to bed. But you be safe in your travels tomorrow.
At least it's not snowing tomorrow.
It was 70s in here today, so I was wearing shorts.
You suck. All right, folks. We will see you next week with our next class. You guys have a good night and a safe week. Have a good night.